When Craig Silvey's novel Jasper Jones came out in 2009, it was quite the literary sensation. This coming-of-age story won a swag of international awards and is usually described as Australia's To Kill a Mockingbird. Filming on the movie version began this week in the small Western Australian town of Pemberton, and ABC's Roxanne Taylor went along to the set.
This is Pemberton, Western Australia. Population just over 1,000. Nestled in the forest, the once bustling timber town has slowed down. But something exciting has been happening lately. A new pub has just been built. But it isn't real. This is the real watering hole.
I see a lot of things happening in town. The streets are closed and a lot of imitation buildings going on.
Oh, it's just really exciting. You just feel like there's something happening. The sleepy town of Pemberton all of a sudden is waking up, you know.
For the last 6 weeks, locals have been sharing their morning views with an entire film crew in town, working to bring the story of Jasper Jones to the big screen.
Jasper Jones, I think, is one of the great Australian stories. It's about a young guy called Charlie Buckton, growing up in a small country town. His life, he thinks, is reasonably coherent and straightforward until one night this young guy, Jasper Jones, knocks on his window and everything changes.
The story has been adapted from Craig Silvey's award-winning 2009 novel of the same name. The West Australian author previously said he wasn't interested in a film, but he's since changed his tune.
Well, I think the older I get, the more I just want to say yes to things. And, you know, what informed my lack of desire, I suppose, to adapt into film initially was the fact that I think books are very precious and they're special objects, and I really respect the fact that when a reader picks up a novel and breathes life into it, they make it theirs. You know, it's a very, very private transaction. A film, on the other hand, is quite homogenous, you know, and it's a more passive way to absorb a story. You know, it washes over you, and it's very, you know, it's a very moving experience, but ultimately you're interpreting a very clear perspective.
Craig Silvey hopes to bust the myth the film is never as good as the book, because he wrote the screenplay himself.
Well, I feel kind of protected because I wrote both, so, you know, either way I've got to kind of, I'm hedging my bets a little bit, you know. I think they're just going to be very different, which is part of what's so exciting for me. You know, they're two vastly different iterations of the same story.
Set in a fictional town in the mid-1960s, Jasper Jones is a coming-of-age story that deals with race, identity and dispossession.
I knew I wanted to write an Australian Gothic story, and so intuitively setting it in the mid-1960s just felt right. And when I got deeper and deeper into the story, I realised that all these other elements played into the story in a really meaningful way. So I guess I just got lucky.
This is a very specifically Australian story, I think. And I think they have to be specific and true for it to resonate. It has to come from somewhere, from a place of truth. But it has universal themes. So coming of age, everybody grows up. Everybody is a teenager at some point and then has revelations about the adult world.
Beyond the dark themes, Rachel Perkins says there's much more to the story.
The racism is just very much at the underbelly of it. You know, really it's a story about this young guy becoming a man, you know, and finding out about the adult world. And it's a funny, charming journey to that. I think I have great hopes for this film. I think it's going to entertain people and move people, and it's going to speak strongly about Australia.
Meanwhile, back at the pub, Kuda Roach has his own views about the film.
There's one thing I'm a little bit disappointed about is that the film industry might have been in town, but I haven't seen anyone yet. And I come to the pub pretty regularly. Yeah, and Hugo, what's his name? Weavick, yeah. And Toni Collette, I'd like to see her.
He might have to wait until Jasper Jones reaches cinemas next year. But with no cinema in town, locals hope to pull some strings for a community screening.